Hello, everybody. Welcome to another version of Todoist Office Hours. I see we've got a lot of people checking in from India and London here, the latest. So I'm excited. This is a special version where we've got Amir, our CEO, visiting us today for tuning in for his first Todoist Office Hours. And it's a super exciting time because we're also talking about boards, which happens to be one of the biggest launches that we've done in a really long time. So Amir has obviously been super involved in that and is going to take us kind of behind the scenes, tell us a little bit more about what's happening at Doist, and even share his Todoist boards with us. So I'm going to quickly turn it over to him. But my name's Chase. If you haven't tuned into one of these before, I'm the head of business development here at Doist, and also currently hosting the Todoist Office Hours from Valencia, Spain. Amir's just up the road in Barcelona, and we don't always get to talk a lot face to face, so this is exciting for me too. So I'll turn it over to him, let him do the introduction better than I can, but thank you guys all for being here. And just remember, if you're watching on Crowdcast, you can write in your questions here in the chat, and also in the Ask a Question piece down at the bottom. And we will make sure to get to those towards the end. We're shooting for about 30 minutes tonight, so at the end of this, we'll make some time to do some Q&A with Amir. So please send those questions in. And Amir, I'll shut up now.
Well, thank you, Chase, for the intro. And yeah, I mean, it's very exciting times. And honestly, like, this release has taken us like a freaking long time. I sometimes like tweet like previews. I think like I tweeted like something a year or two ago where we actually had some early mocks of the board. Yeah, and the thing to note is kind of like the scale that we operate now, like it makes changes much harder to do. So like if you're a small startup, you have like a few customers, a little data, it's very it's very easy to make changes. And something like I just saw like Brenna posted Brenna, who is the head of marketing. So basically it took like I think maybe 9 or 10 years to reach like 1 billion tasks, and it has taken us like I don't know, like 2 years to reach 2 billion or over 2 billion tasks. So kind of like, like the complexity actually rises and the growth rises, which makes something like boards very, very complex. So like, before we start actually boards, we need to look at the foundations because the foundations kind of like changed a lot of stuff that people didn't really know that we changed. So for instance, like before, like the hierarchy of the tasks was not very robust, and this is kind of very problematic. Like if you don't have like sections, like root tasks and subtasks, and you do a reordering, and then you basically like destroy the whole structure. Yeah. This happened a lot in the past because like the models were not really good. So basically, we did like a huge, we created a new model basically, and then migrated all the tasks. And yeah, usually actually users didn't really notice this, which is great when you do these changes. But of course, like nothing happens on the UI level when you do this. So it's just like you improve the foundations, so you can kind of like layer in some stuff. Yeah, so that's kind of like the gist is kind of like it's really, and we still actually need some of those more. So right now, like we are actually doing a huge like refactoring that most people don't see. It's basically on the core models themselves to make actually sharing much more robust. So basically, we kind of want to end in a state where you can basically like share, with like 1,000 people without any issues. So that's kind of like the ambition. And like in order to do that, like our current sharing models are really bad. Like
I was going to ask, like, what for the average person listening, like what would you say, like, if we're talking about thousands in the future, what's the current state?
Yeah, I mean, the thing to know is like right now when you actually like share a project, everybody has their own unique copy, and then we sync. So like if you have 100 projects, we basically sync between each project. If something goes wrong there, then suddenly you have like 2 users that see different data, which is like really bad. Yeah. It does not happen very often, but like even if it happens, like 0.1 failure, like with like hundreds of millions of projects, like it's still like thousands and thousands of like failures. So we are excited about it, but let me just show boards, and I can also like give basically like maybe like a behind the scenes like what actually we needed to change in order to enable boards.
Yeah, that seems to be something that a lot of people are interested in, is kind of like how boards came to be, and like, I mean, it's a big change going from a list to a more of a Kanban style view. And I know, like you and I know, we discussed this a lot internally beforehand and leading up to it. But people watching from the outside just saw suddenly that we had this different view. So I think, yeah, kind of like talking through some of the mindset about why make this big shift, especially if it was going to take us, did you say 2 years? Is that how long it took?
I think probably more, but like, yeah, I mean, can you see my screen? You can, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, there we go.
So I mean, basically, like in the past, the sections was kind of a huge hack. Like the sections was basically like you put like a asterisk in front, and then like a task is a section. So actually, in order for us to kind of enable boards, we needed to have like real sections, and these are kind of like real objects inside the system right now, and not just like special tasks, which they were before. And you can see here, like I'm still kind of honestly like myself like learning how to use boards, because it's kind of like it enables new use cases, but it's also very hard to kind of convert existing projects to this. So actually, like there where I use the boards the most is maybe like in shared projects. So here we actually have like Twist pipeline, which is basically like collaboration between mostly like product and marketing, to kind of like make sure that we know like what's upcoming, what's in progress, what we are beta testing. So you can see here, like we are beta testing pin threads in Twist, and also what we have shipped, and what we have marketed. And like if you actually switch to like the list view, then first of all, like it loses some of the visual aspects, and also like on a bigger screen, and like this is a laptop screen, the usage of actual space isn't very good. So boards are much more visual, and I think also like they enable much like broader use cases. And even if we see some other apps like Trello is really popular as well. And I think it's also because like some people, and maybe like majority of people, are visual. That's why we like whiteboards and stuff, because they can basically visualize more data at once. So that's basically like a crash course, which I think like most users have already been to. And I think something like for us that has been a challenge is basically like doing boards and doing them on desktop and mobile, and still having all the power of Todoist. So like something that's like, it's kind of like the natural language passing. So I can say like test tomorrow, and it works. And you also have like the UI elements. Like actually designing this and doing this like isn't really that easy, especially like doing it across all platforms. And of course, like the whole like model layer that's behind this is also something that is difficult. And also like like making a change that's so big without really making the whole like process, the whole product much more complex. So like for most users, like if they don't want to use boards, they don't actually need. They only have like one extra menu item, and it's very simple. And also like you have a shortcut, keyboard shortcut, that's Shift V, so you can basically quickly switch between these two states, depending on like the project or like the view that you want to see. So it's kind of like the crash course on this. I would be curious, like if you or like any of the users have any like specific questions regarding this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I also think I think it's really important what you pointed out, because I would say most of the concern I heard from people when they heard we were working on boards, because somebody on our team tweeted it out that we were doing it, months or a year in advance. Amir, I don't know if that was you or somebody else, but people got wind of it and got excited about boards, and then they were like, "Wait, is the simplicity of Todoist going to go away?" And I think it's important what you pointed out, that it hasn't. It's not. You don't even have to use boards if you don't want to. But if you do, if you are more visual and you want that space taken up, and you want to move things from one step to the other, I think it fills a nice void there, especially for things like this, like pipelines and processes and things like that.
Exactly. And, like that's also something that we always keep in mind when we actually do these changes, is kind of like not making the product more complex. I think like it's very easy to kind of just like add a lot of like features, and then in the end you have like a product that nobody actually can use because it's like too complex, or you have like competing features, that kind of do the same thing or whatever else. Like, so, something that I'm very proud of, like in our product development, and like we have been doing this for almost 13, 14 years now, is we have actually added very few features. And when we do that, like it's kind of like a big commitment, because it's also like it's very hard to remove something once it's out there. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. One question's come in here, and it just says, will you have more UI updates to allow for more color customization of tasks in a section?
Yeah. I mean, that's possible. We don't really have it on the roadmap right now. And yeah, again, like, like adding stuff is maybe the easy part, but like maintaining it and also doing it like over long periods of time, like if like we want to add something, like it needs to have a lot of value. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a perfect timing on that question, because that is something like we get asked all the time. Will you add this feature? Will you consider adding in something that we don't currently have? And we have to talk about all these suggestions a lot. Even sometimes we hear them very loudly and from thousands of users, and we just, as Amir said, we take it so seriously adding features that we try to stray away from doing that to keep the simplicity and keep it powerful and simple. Clement's got a really great question, I think, that can be opened up. That can, we could probably talk about this for the rest of the time, but do you see Todoist going more into the world of project management? And I think this is a good distinction to make, because I think a lot of people have this question.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question, and honestly, like something that is kind of like missing right now in Todoist is kind of like a collaboration, like world-class collaboration, and like this includes like project management, includes like teamwork, because a lot of stuff, like if you're just like working alone, that's okay, but it's actually when you bring your team along with you. And a lot of us, like we like most, especially like in the work context, it's collaborative. And right now we have like these silos where you're using like one system, for instance, like you're using Asana, and then you're using something personally, and there's like no synchronization, or like even if there is synchronization, it's kind of very poor. So I think like our next challenge basically is like, can we actually make like Todoist awesome at collaboration without making the single user experience like awful. There's like, I don't think there's many apps that actually pull this off. So it's kind of like it's like from the product and design, it's a very big challenge, because there's kind of very like different use cases, and modeling this. And also, like if you see some of like the competition, like Asana, I think like on many levels is like it's really, really bad, like so and it's not bad because they are not good. It's basically they're targeting another use case, like enterprise, where you need to have all kind of belts and whistles and stuff like that, and at the end, like you end up with a super complex product that maybe like nobody really likes to use or loves to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I think someone told me one time like how hard it is to be everything to everybody, and it's really hard to be really good at task management and really good at project management, really good at serving the individual, really good at serving collaborative teams. So I think it's important to realize like there is a line between project management and task management, and we have to keep walking that line and not try to be something that we're not at the same time trying to expand what we can offer our users.
Exactly. So I think that's kind of like a very fine line, and something like we really care deeply about is like not making stuff more complex. And like some of the best features, for instance, like boards, are kind of like that, because you can use them like in single player mode, you can use them in multiplayer mode. Like it's kind of like it's a great feature regardless if you use it like personally or in a team. But maybe actually something like boards is actually like the best value is kind of like in team context. That's at least what we can see right now. But of course, like you can also use it to kind of plan. Oh, I lost Chase. Oh, he's back. Maybe internet in Valencia isn't very good.
Yeah. We're trying to catch up to Barcelona.
Yeah. I mean, something like we are actually, I think it's like that's how, and even right now, like we do have sharing in Todoist. It's not very good. It's kind of like, add-on, and it's just like a frustrating experience. Like even inside this, like we are just like, we really want to use this, but it's not something that kind of like puts a smile on your face. Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely true. And I mean, it seems like you're touching on a lot of things related to sharing, more collaboration, more team usage. So someone has asked, like, kind of what can they foresee, or what can you foresee for the future? I guess a little bit. So looking ahead, like Boards has obviously been sort of a stepping stone that was preceded by a few other updates, like Todoist Foundations and other things that we've done. What anything you can share without getting the whole team mad at us for bringing it up? Just a general concept. Is this the direction that people should be looking with Todoist?
Yeah, I mean, like I always bring the team into, because like sometimes I overshare on Twitter. I have already like had multiple complaints about this. Yeah, but something actually, like we are already like we have a very early alpha test of this on the platform, and it's basically like something that's like very broken right now. It's kind of like sorting, and basically grouping and sorting. So we got like a lot of like user complaints about this, because it doesn't really make sense. Like you want to have a specific like project sorted by date, but right now you need to go in and manually like sort it every time, or like you want to have another grouping, and like so this is again like a feature that kind of appeals to the individual, because you can basically like you can set sorting and filtering and grouping as you like. But also like on the collaborative model, for instance, like sometimes I'm really like frustrated. Like I go into like a project, I see like 200 tasks. I only want to see what's assigned to me. I don't want to see everything else. And right now, like you the way you do it is basically go in and you need to kind of like scan through the whole list of tasks and see if something is assigned to you, or maybe like use one of the yeah. Or maybe they use like search or filtering, but still, it's not very nice feature. So that's kind of like how we're thinking, is basically like creating stuff that does not only like improve stuff for like a collaborative use case, but for everybody. And like Boards is a great example of that, and the upcoming stuff is also like that. I mean, even something like, for instance, like sharing models. Like sharing models is like a whole re-architecture of the core models of Todoist. So we are basically moving like billions of tasks to completely new models, and this will actually have like deep impact to personal users as well, because like it will be much more like, for instance, like we have constraints. Okay, it's technical, but it's basically, it means that like you can't really lose data that easily, or like you can't really like have, for instance, like a task without any project that's basically like orphan. Yeah. so that's basically how we look at this. Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple themes. We're talking about more collaboration and better sharing models, but without venturing too far into something like project management. We're not looking at adding lots of features and lots of complexity. We want to maintain the simplicity, but also allow more team building, team collaboration within the product. There's a lot of pretty some specific questions here that have to do with adding some stuff. But I'll try to get to a couple of these. Do you foresee us enabling ordering tasks on filters or adding sections to the today and upcoming view?
Yeah, honestly, something that has been, I can see Clement is asking about this. Like people want to see boards view for their filters. This has been like a very requested feature. Yeah, and honestly, like this is something that we really want to improve. Like we want to improve our filtered views as well. Yeah, especially like for power users, I think like this is something they use a lot. I have seen like some wild like filter queries. Yeah, this is very likely. There are some like technical challenges, especially given how our filters are working. So again, like in order to fix this or improve this, it would probably not be like quick fix. Yeah.
That's one of those like sneaky, complex things, right, Amir? Like it seems kind of easy on the surface, like, oh, why don't you just add that? But it's got a lot of ramifications.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I see sometimes like I think like the Reddit Todoist community has kind of been very, vocal about our slow progress and just like not adding stuff or changing stuff. Yeah. And the thing is like, it's much harder to do this when you kind of have the scale, and you also like need to think about all kind of use cases, and also just like maintainability like for the next decade. That's something that we also think about. It's like you can add this, but then you kind of need to maintain it for 10 or maybe 100 years. So yeah.
Easier said than done. So something else coming back, a lot of people are really interested in the collaborative aspect of boards, which is really cool, I think, because that was intended. And a lot of people are chiming in on this. Somebody said, this is from Ahmed, that I think is a really good question. So what are your thoughts on bringing data and reporting on the project level? So basically, like, I know we have Karma for individuals, but thinking more about like team data and reporting and things like that.
Yeah. I would love to see us do, something that I think is kind of like another aspect of Todoist that we actually need to improve at some point is kind of the activity log. So like reporting and logging, it's kind of similar. It's based like, seeing your activity and like creating a report of that. The problem we have is kind of like it's a really, really challenging to do this. So even right now with our like crappy models, there's like so much data into this. Like it's our fastest growing like structure. It has like billions and billions of entries. Yeah. So I would love to do this, but like we would actually need to do like a re-architecture of this to kind of enable almost like unlimited activity logs, and then like ability to aggregate them and create reports. Yeah, this said, at some point this will definitely be like on the menu. And even right now, like we are not really happy how activity log works. For instance, like you can only see like 2 weeks at a time, and this is basically like to kind of like an optimization. But like the great activity logs, it should just be like an endless stream that you can basically filter into, and it will be super fast. Yeah, this isn't the case right now. So yeah.
It's a good request though. I think like it's one of those things like you mentioned earlier, Amir. There's things that we even want from Todoist that we're using it as our team task management tool, and it's one of those blocks that we hit sometimes as well. Like that would be great to have.
Yeah, and I think like even for individual use cases, like having, I mean, for instance, if you had like a really powerful, like activity and like reporting engine, you can basically like extract and see, like when are you most productive, or like how are you actually using your months, and get some like data on that. Yeah, but that's something for the future. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we want to improve. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, any requests that are going to come in from our customers are things that we're usually already like, yeah, we want that too. Like, you're not alone. It's a matter of resources, and I think that question also touched on karma for individuals, not just for users, but that for teams. But that's something else that, like, in general, it's like we like it, but we would love to do more with karma, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we also have like some ideas there, and honestly, like karma and the whole, like, it's kind of like if you think about it, it's like most other apps, like for instance, like Microsoft To Do does not really have it. I think it's a huge mistake. Like, it's something that actually a lot of people care about. Like, it makes it's kind of like a gaming element that makes it more fun. And usually, like, task management isn't fun, like so like adding a fun element to it can actually make a difference sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the sexiest subject in the world, like task management, but you throw a little gamification in there, it can spice it up a little bit. Someone asked something I would love to hear your opinion on, because I also think this is super important for us, and I see a lot of possibility and also like a lot of internal growth already since we made some internal changes, and that's around integrations and extensions. So this person specifically mentioning the fantastical integration, but just in general, thoughts on our integration ecosystem expanding over time, and how relevant and important do you think that is?
Yeah. I mean, something to know is, like, I have like these foundational posts. I have done it like for the maybe 7 years or something like that. And these are kind of like the basically like the vision for the company or our products. And actually, like, integrations and like building a platform, that's kind of like one of the core objectives. And like, it has taken us a long time to actually invest into this, but right now we have like probably one of our biggest engineering teams is the integration team right now, and we are like, in next year we will probably like double down on that aspect. Yeah. So honestly, like, I'm super excited, and we will see like a lot more integrations, and also just like platform features. So for instance, like, we are looking at like UI extensions. For instance, just to give like example, like, a lot of people use Toggle to time track, but currently it's kind of a huge hack. Like, you need to install a Chrome extension, then it doesn't really work on mobile. And the whole experience kind of like, it's not really where we want it to be. So we actually want to have others, like other partners, be able to kind of extend the UI of Todoist. And that's kind of like next level integrations. And there's like very few, I think, apps that have actually successfully done this. And it's kind of like it's a really big challenge, like product and engineering wise, to pull this off. But honestly, like, I think that will be the best, because then basically, like, you need something like time tracking. You can just install it, and you will maybe have like world-class time tracking. And if somebody like wants to hack something together, and we have also had these, like, they will be able to do that, because it will kind of be an open platform. Yeah, so as we imagine, like, this will actually be a part, like, some of the core integrations will be ourselves, but the whole platform will be open, so anybody can kind of build stuff on top of that. Yeah, this said, like, this is a really, really hard challenge, but honestly, like, that will kind of be like the next level stuff that we can do for Todoist. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can say, like, I think this year made huge strides in that area by getting more people involved in that team, and already starting to see like a lot of high quality integrations come out, refinements of what we had in the past, and I think personally, I'm really excited for the future of that team, and for those products to be available. Do the last question real quick, because I think it touches on something really interesting that a lot of people ask for, and it might be a good opportunity to explain kind of why we don't have this. But this is referring to deferred tasks setting. Well, I'll read the question directly just so I don't plagiarize this. So any chance deferred tasks will be an option in the future, not allowing them to show up in a view until the start deferred date is up. And I think just even more broadly on that, like what we think, what are your thoughts on like, having these multiple times and dates for individual tasks? Because we talk about this internally as well.
Yeah, honestly, like, there's like two features, like deferred dates or start dates has been like recurring request that we basically shut down every time. And the same goes for like assigning multiple people to a task. So basically, it's basically like the philosophy of how we actually want to do this. Like, so for us, like we don't want to have one task that spans over multiple days. Like if you have a big task, you should split it up in subtasks. That's kind of like the design of the system. The problem with start dates, like, we can easily implement them. It's not that. It's just like they add a ton of complexity to everything. And, most people, they also don't really care, like it appeals to like a very vocal minority that will actually use them. But then like everything just like explodes in complexity. So this is kind of philosophical, and the same thing is like kind of assigning multiple people to a task. That's also like something that's recurring. Like, we probably have like many requests per day about this, and just like, split the tasks up, assign them to different people, like make them actionable, like make it clear what the task should do. And that's kind of like, we don't actually force a lot of stuff on people, so you can kind of like do wild things inside Todoist. But these are kind of changes where we actually think like if you do this, like for instance, like assigning multiple people to tasks or like introducing start dates, you're just making your life like more complex, and our life more complex, because then like suddenly like if we want to do like dates, like you need to add extra field on mobile, it becomes very complex. And even right now, like it's a freaking like like a PhD project, like our date parsing and like the calendar stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's a ton of complexity here, and that's basically where we kind of like, okay, we actually want to have something simple. So like, if people want to have start dates, they should use like OmniFocus, I think, has them,
Yeah, it's again like we're not trying to be everything to everyone and serve every little need, but stick to the kind of core, which is keeping things simple, but also making sure there's a lot of power built into the tool. And I think that tends to resonate more than the minority you said that asks for this feature. But it is something we do hear a lot, and for forever probably.
Yeah, I don't think this will ever stop. Like regardless of how good arguments we have, why we don't do this. But yeah.
We'll have to do a lot of office hours with you making your point to get that past people, I think. Very cool.
I mean, just I know there, like I think like in product, like it's also very important like what you not build. And something that we have been, I think, very good at, like we have actually not changed much the core product for the last like 10 years, and so if you have like a core that kind of works and it's very flexible, introducing new stuff like can be very problematic, and it can basically make life much harder and like changes much harder.
Yeah. Yep. That feature bloat can come back to bite you. Well, we said we were going to try to keep this to around 30 minutes tonight, and we've gone just a little bit over, but people have stuck around with us. So thank you guys for sticking around. There's tons of questions coming in. We could probably be here for another hour, but Amir's got 2 young kids and needs a few hours of sleep, so we won't ask him to do that. Amir, thanks for stopping in, and I think everybody that stopped in, whether it was on YouTube or Twitter or here in Crowdcast, thanks for coming to Todoist office hours, and maybe we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, I mean, thanks a lot, Chase, and thanks a lot for the users with a lot of great questions. And yeah, I'm also available on Twitter. So like, if you actually have something, like, I usually tweet back. Yeah.
Where can they find you? What's your
It's
Twitter handle for everyone?
Amix3K. Yeah, it's a long story. I actually had Amix, but I lost it at some point. Yeah.
Well, that we'll have to save that as the cliffhanger to get people to come back to the next one, because I don't know that story either.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you guys. For everybody watching, this will live on our YouTube channel, and also I will, if you signed up and registered through Crowdcast, I will send you an email tomorrow with the recording, and yeah, that's it for this edition of Todoist Office Hours. So thank you guys. Thanks, Amir.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.